Hello and welcome to Transplant's Take on Sport. My name's Lewis Daniels and joining me today is professional golfer Will Marklew. Will tells me about his path to becoming a professional golfer, what life as a pro is typically like for him and how it's changed since starting dialysis in September 2021, and we both open up about the mental challenges we've faced. Will is hoping to have a kidney transplant later this year, so please stick around to find out more about that and his golf plans for the future. If you're enjoying the podcast, please make sure you press subscribe or follow wherever you normally listen so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to follow the podcast on social media, all the links will be in the show notes. Before we get into this episode, I'd like to say another huge thank you to Neon Cricket, who very kindly sponsored me once again for the 2022 season, and have given me a code to share with you all that's slightly different to the one you may have heard before. If you use the code TTOSPORT, you'll receive a 20% discount on their entire range. That's TTOSPORT for 20% off everything at neoncricket.co.uk, and the website and the code are in the show notes in case you want to go straight from there to the website. I've been using their kit and it's genuinely the best I've ever used, so if you play cricket, why not grab yourself a saving of 20% ready for the new season. If there's a friend, family member, teammate, opposition player, a player you coach, or anyone else you'd like to share the code with, then please feel free to do so. Thank you once again to Neon Cricket, and let's get back to the podcast. Will Marklew, welcome to Transplant's Take on Sport.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
No worries. Pleasure to have you on. I believe you are the first professional athlete on the podcast. I could be wrong. Someone may correct me online, but I think you might be.
But I hope so. But it's something we can talk about. It's something different, isn't it?
Yeah. You are, as I'm sure I've said in the intro, you are a professional golfer.
Yep.
And you're currently on dialysis, awaiting a kidney transplant. We're going to come more onto dialysis and potential transplant further on into the podcast. But to start with, when did you first start playing golf?
So my dad's a golf pro as well. He's a PGA professional. And
Nice.
He's been that all his life. So it was sort of destined for me to go into golf. So I've been playing golf since I was 2, since I could walk. Everything's been around golf. And I couldn't think of doing anything else. I absolutely love it. I really do love it.
Is it something that you took to quickly with your dad being a professional as well?
Yeah, very much so. It's like I said, I had my first set of plastic clubs when I was 2. And within 3 months, I wore them out. There was holes in the bottom of them. And I was using adult clubs when I was 5 and 6, playing tournaments when I was that age as well, in the junior wee wonders, things like that. And it's just something I've always loved.
It's nice to hear that. I haven't mentioned this on the podcast before, but there's got to be. I've had this conversation with my family, and I'm sure you may have done as well. There's got to be something genetic in these things when there's a certain skill gets passed down through a generation. I haven't spoken about magic much on this podcast. I don't generally talk about it because it's not a sport. But my granddad was a pro. My dad's a pro. I'm now doing it. And you with golf, do you think there is something genetic there?
I agree, 100%. My dad's side are all rugby sides. They're all athletes. So his dad's dad played rugby for Great Britain. And then he sort of transferred into golf rather than, doing anything else. So I think he's then taught himself that skill. Why hasn't it transferred onto me?
Were you playing competitions a lot then growing up? From what sort of age?
Wee Wonders started, I think it was 7, 8. I mean, I had my first hole in one when I was 8 in a tournament.
From some Googling I've been doing, that matches Tiger Woods.
That's fantastic. I never knew that. So that was in, where was that? That was in Chester. I think it was in Graham Moore's golf school. Those tours, and that was just great fun. But yeah, played all sorts, played all tournaments I could.
Were you practicing a lot during the weeks as well then? Is it like an everyday thing, like a lot of kids would be with maybe football as the national sport?
It was, yeah. So it's like rather than go out with mates, I'd go to golf. My brothers play golf as well, so it was quite competitive. So we finished school straight to golf. We'd play with my dad, and then we'd either walk the dogs or do something like that in the afternoon. It was I never forced into it. It was something that I chose to do, but I loved it.
And there'll be people listening to this that are not massive avid golf fans. There'll be some that are mad on it. There'll be some that'll go, yeah, I'll watch it when it's on. And there's quite a lot of, we were talking about this off air beforehand, there's quite a lot of terms with professional golf. Would you be able to explain, for those who might not know, the difference between a professional golfer and a golf professional, and then the different types of professional golfers, club pros, touring pros, that sort of thing?
Of course, yeah. So basically what I am a PGA assistant professional. I'm in my 3rd year of training, pretty much finished now. So that's sort of going down the business coaching side of golf. so part of the Professional Golfers Association. There is also your golf professionals, which just basically turn pro to coach, do other sort of things without the qualifications. Your touring golf pro, they're sort of the likes of your McIlroys, Tiger Woods, is that purely focus on competition and they just compete for a living.
What would you describe yourself as in terms? Obviously you're a professional golfer, but
So
are
before
you onto
this all
touring?
happened, I was touring pro. So I played tournaments for a living. That's all I was doing.
And we established earlier on that was always what you wanted to do. Was there a point where you realised that would be a realistic career option?
I think it was more a case of I started my turning pro when I was 19 out in Spain, and I did quite well out there. Turned back to the UK. Obviously, I moved back in with my ex-partner at the time. It takes over everything then. Obviously, you got to pay for a house, you got to pay for everything else you need to. I started working. So it sort of like set back a couple of years where I wasn't able to play and I was purely just working in different golf clubs. So that sort of like put everything on hold. I then stepped away from that to go full-time playing again when things happened. Relationship fell through and the COVID hit. So this is where the situation is now. So it's always a dream to be a tournament pro, and this was sort of going to be the first time where it was getting all my effort.
I'm always fascinated by the careers of people who were in professional sport because it's quite often described. It's living the dream, isn't it? Really,
I would say so. Yeah, I mean, it's like it's going to work every day without going to work. It's basically your hobby is your daily life. It's great. It really is.
What is the process of going from? How do you go from being classed as an amateur golfer to a professional golfer?
It's pretty much just signing on the line. That's it. So all you have to do is say, like, pretty much, I resent my amateur status. I'm no longer an amateur, so you can't play amateur. I can't say the word now. You can't play amateur tournaments. You can't do anything like that. You basically play professional tournaments. If you take money, that's it. You're a pro. You're a pro.
Have you got to? Does your handicap have to get below a certain point to be able to sign that paper?
It doesn't have to be. No, you can turn pro really off any handicap. But if you want to go down the PGA route, I think the qualification is now 6 handicap.
Right.
But obviously, that's you've got to be a standard to get to that because they want good golfers to be able to teach, be able to go into golf industry and shine the light on golf. Really, be the spokespeople for golf.
You don't want someone who really can't play just going, yeah, I'm a pro now, sign that.
Well, there's no saying in golf. It's like the higher the handicap, the more they can teach you. It's something we coaches joke about a lot.
Do you remember the feeling of your first pro round?
I do actually. Yeah, it was actually I spent 4 years in Spain, and it was the second year in there. I was playing at a course in Valencia, and I was playing actually really good golf. I was leading the tournament up until the 18th hole, and that was the first time probably in my career that nerves really hit, and I just hit this horrible blocky 3-wood into the water, took a drop, lost my mind completely, ended up making a double to lose a tournament by 2. And so it's from there on out, it was a learning curve, but it sort of bothered me right through. Maybe a good couple more years that bothered me. So I still think about that now, actually.
Now you sent me some information beforehand. And your lowest handicap's 2.6.
It was plus 2.6. Yeah, so I was getting pretty much 2 shots added on when I played rather than taking off.
It's some going. I'm not saying I'm an expert. It
was tough.
Yeah.
Because I mean, my home course, it's right on the coast in Cumbria, and it's the windiest golf course this side of anywhere. So I mean, it's like I was trying to play. I had to shoot. I think standard scratch. So obviously, those systems standard scratch was 1 under par. I had to shoot 2 under par to not go up 0.1.
Yeah.
So it was always a tough day, every single day.
You saying that now has shown my knowledge of golf because I saw you put lowest handicap plus 2.6, and for some reason I don't know why I thought as if you were how to word this. For some reason I don't know why I thought you were taking 2 off each time, but now it's like I've gone, oh wow, that is like seriously good.
So the system is like everything before 0 is minus, so you get some minuses, and then obviously once you go beyond minus, you go into pluses. It's golf is never simple. You got to think about it differently. It's we never do things easily.
And you've been selected for Cumbria, north of England. How did it feel to be selected for those teams? And was that for like match play sort of tournaments?
It was, yeah. So obviously we play against different countries in match play scenarios. I only ever played for England once, so it was before that. looking back on things now, I was unwell way before I knew.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of us are.
Oh yeah, so it was. I think the first time I went for blood test when I was 13, and my kidney function was 60% then,
All right.
which I didn't know until recently. I never checked my records, so it was only until sort of 2 weeks ago that I actually knew that. But when I was probably 17, 18, when I was going through the peak of playing well, I was at my lowest handicap. I was so fatigued, I couldn't do anything. My concentration went, and it got to a point that I couldn't play golf anymore. So basically, the terminology we have in golf is I got the full swing yips. I couldn't swing, I couldn't play, and I went from obviously being a plus handicapper to a 4 handicapper
Right.
over the space of a year, which is I couldn't break 85. That was the point. We moved out to Spain to then reset and go again, and that got me back down to, I think I was +1, +2 before I turned pro again, and that was over the space of a year again. So it was, so that was sort of like the journey from my amateur career. Then when I turned professional, it was just sort of stepping stones into my working life. Then once I finished my working life, different tours, 2020 Pro Tour, Euro Pro, Jamaica Tour. Tried to go further, but financially it just wasn't really an option when you're working full time.
With those tournaments, were you having to buy into them?
Yeah. So everything was covered by myself. So I paid, I think at the time, I think it was between £99 and £200 per tournament entrance fee. Obviously, you got your hotel cost, travel cost, everything to go down there. First place can vary from 1,000 to 3,000, but obviously you're never going to win week in, week out.
No.
It's if you're in like once every 3 or 4 months, you're doing well.
Yeah, it's quite an expensive game.
Oh yeah, it is, especially on the bottom tier. Once you move up, obviously you get the bonuses, everything.
Yeah.
Like the rights of McElroy and everything like that. They're living the dream, but it's a lot of grind, a lot of hard work to get there. There's a lot of us trying to do it.
You obviously work very hard, and the fact you said that when you were 13, your kidney function was 60%, and getting to that point, you're obviously very determined, and you want to do really well in golf. Pre-dialysis, what was a typical week like for you?
So obviously school life, it was school through the day, golf in the afternoon. Weekend would be 18 holes in the morning with my dad and my brother. Then we practice in the afternoon. And once I finished school, it was practice in the morning, home something to eat, practice in the afternoon, out with the family, in the evening. That was pretty much every day. There was a few days rest, obviously, when the weather comes in and Christmas and things like that. We didn't do anything. But yeah, it was always full time. It was never not going, really.
We spent a lot of time in the gym.
Not really. It's never something I enjoyed. I never enjoyed going to the gym. It was more tedious. But now, obviously, since dialysis, I've started going to the gym again 2 weeks ago, and I love it. I couldn't, I spend, I think, 4 times a week at the moment. I go 10 at night, and I absolutely love it. But beforehand, couldn't do it. Didn't have the motivation to do it. I think that was more fatigue than anything else stopped me.
It's just it's a strange one. I can relate to that. When I was diagnosed, I was diagnosed with kidney disease at uni, and before going to uni, I never got to the gym. Started going when I got there, doing fairly well, and then I suppose I'm sure we'll come on to talk about that conversation you have where it's you've got your kidneys are on their way down. They're probably going to fail at some point, and then it's like, right, I'm going to go to the gym more. And I don't know what it is, but something just clicks, and it's as if I'm making the most of this.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Which I think my kidney function at the moment, I think last blood test was my EGFR was 4, 5.
Right.
I think. It was around there anyway. But for some reason at the moment, I feel, it's like today, I feel I've got more energy than before I started dialysis and before I knew I was unwell.
Yeah.
As strange it sounds, it's like at the moment I actually feel all right.
Good. It's good to hear. So at least you're feeling it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, dialysis, it's a pain. Obviously, it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I go to my local centre. Those days I'm out. I can't do anything else once a day finishes. I'm just sleeping. But just like today, I'm not dialysing. I feel good. I feel energized. Even though I'm tired, I still feel all right.
Before dialysis, and obviously you're still playing golf now, but playing golf regularly beforehand, how important was diet in golf, and what sort of things did you eat throughout the week and then on tournament days?
So tournament days, it'd be a carb load up the day before. But apart from that, I would just eat normally. I wasn't trying to do anything differently. I was trying to not make it take over my whole life completely. I was still a teenager, young lad. I wanted to enjoy myself as well. You know, it was. But now, pre-dialysis, pre-this, it's a completely different story. It really is.
I've not asked, how old are you now, if you don't mind?
26.
26. Okay.
26, yeah.
What would you say your greatest achievements in golf up until now?
To be fair, it's like I don't feel like I've achieved too much regarding golf. It's like I've played for my county. I was junior county captain. I won numerous events as an amateur. Turned pro. I've won. I think before all this started last year, or before coronavirus, I won 5 tournaments in a season as a professional. But you know, I don't feel like I've done as much as my peers. You know,
Yeah.
people that I grew up playing golf with, and you know, I just feel like I've been up there, but thereabouts. You know,
Mhm.
not setting the standard, but not bottom of the ring. Just plodding my way through.
Yeah. I know we're going to come on to more about the kidney disease, kidney failure. Do you think has that been a factor? I mean, obviously there was something that'll be there, but how much do you think that's played a part before you knew?
I think it played a part more than I realised, because it's like I was playing tournaments and I was never unfit. You know, I've always tried to keep healthy, but I was so tired. I was
Yeah.
always
Same.
fatigued. It's like I never knew. So it's like yourself. Obviously, when you were before you even knew, you were tired without even realising it. My parents would call me lazy, whereas now they realise what it actually was.
And then another view to look at that with what you were saying about how you've achieved things, but you're not you like that you said there or thereabouts. Is that also again this elite mentality of someone who's playing professional sport of I want to do more, I want to achieve higher, and just be the best I can be?
I think it's always a case of every single one who plays professional sport, we think we're the best at whatever we do. You know, we're the best at our craft. We can do everything. It's like, say, I'm better than Tiger Woods. But it's like, if you don't think that way, you're always putting yourself down.
Yeah,
It's never going to be, you're never going to achieve what you really want to achieve. Your standards are high. Yes, it can be drained. It can be, the too high sometimes. But it's that expectation of yourself and that want to push and that will to go on.
yeah. I mean, you hear people talking about it all the time. Like, I know it's not golf. Cristiano Ronaldo, he's always better, goals, more goals, more
Yeah,
goals, more goals,
yeah.
and it's I find it really fascinating and commendable how much desire is there in people like yourself who are playing
Mm.
professional sport.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the desire for me has always been I want to play tournament golf. I want to, I'm not bothered if I get to European tour. I'm not bothered if how high I get. All I want to do is say that right, I've done everything that I can possibly do to achieve what I wanted to achieve when I was younger. So if I give it my all, I can, when everything, when we get old and look back, we think right, I've done everything I want to do. I'm happy with that, and that's really my main goal. I want to say that I've done everything that I could possibly do.
I think that's a good way to look at it as well.
Well, I hope so. I hope so.
People listening to this might have a new favourite golfer.
Well, don't know about that. It could be. Want to see someone playing records for the last few tournaments? They might look back again and think maybe not.
Let's move forward on to the kidney disease, kidney failure that's unfortunately hit you and hit, I'm sure, a lot of people listening to this. When did you first find out that there was something wrong with your kidneys?
So the stupid thing is, a week before I knew everything was going on, the local mountain to me, Black Combe, I was on a 12.5 mile hike, and I had no problems at all. Everything was perfectly fine. Got home. The next day, I was playing golf, 18 holes, and everything was all right. But the next day started my PG exams.
Right.
Obviously, it was coronavirus. There were 5 days of exams, all online. Got to the Wednesday, looking at my computer, everything went blurry. I basically couldn't see the words, couldn't concentrate. Went to the golf course to sort of relax. Couldn't see the golf ball. It was flying 100 yards. Normally I could see it land, no problem at all. 100 yards in the air, couldn't see it. So went to Specsavers the next day. They found the vessels in the back of my eyes were bursting. So they thought I was diabetic, which I'm not. Basically, after I got referred to my local hospital, my blood pressure was 230, 130.
That's quite high.
A little bit high, yeah. But I felt fine. I still felt perfectly fine. Yeah, and then I was referred to Royal Preston. And that's when I found out that my kidney function was 10%.
Well, that's quite low for crashing in, isn't it?
It is, yeah. My consultant said I had another week left. If I hadn't gone to Specsavers, it would have been another week before, it would crash completely.
Wow.
Would have just collapsed.
It's a scary thought, isn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah, yeah, very much so. I mean, it's like my mum this Christmas. Obviously, I was at my parents' house for Christmas. She didn't know whether to laugh or cry because obviously everything that's gone on. I was there with my family. She was over the moon. Because it could have been
Yeah,
could have been a different story.
I think a lot of us in that position feel that, and it's not,
Oh, I
you don't
agree. Yeah.
want to think about what could have happened. I know I've said before on here, my function was slightly higher when I found out I was in the 30s. But when you think about the symptoms that you don't really notice when
Mm.
leading up to it, but when you look back, you know were there. You do think, what if I hadn't gone to the doctors about this? What if you hadn't gone to Specsavers?
100%. I mean, it's like beforehand. It's like the September. So all this started back in May for me, May or March. I think it was May. And the September before, I was at Europro qualifying, and this has never happened to me before. But I was sick on the first tee. Now
Oh,
I love it. I mean, the first tee, I was always drilled into why be nervous on the first tee. That's energy. Embrace that energy. Call it first tee energy, and be happy about it. But I was sick, and that's never happened. And I was so out of it that entire round. It's like I was in like a different world altogether.
yeah.
And then it's like I came back that week, came back the next week playing at Close House in a PGA event, and again on the 17th hole I was sick, and
Oh,
I've no. It's like that's the start of things restarting to go bad.
did you feel it in your breath? Was it? I'm trying to compare it back to. I know I shouldn't compare, but back to the things that I was experiencing before diagnosis. With the being sick, I felt like I was going to be sick, wasn't sick, but
Exactly,
struggled
yeah.
to breathe. Did you get a lot
Yeah,
of that?
exactly the same. Yeah, yeah. It was exactly the same.
Did you ever find out what the cause of it was? The cause of the kidney disease?
Yeah, so it's IgA nephropathy, I
Same
think.
here.
Yeah, one of those. So it's obviously it affects this population more than anything else. It's the Caucasian population,
I didn't know that.
which yeah, it's my consultant was saying it's mostly affects healthy young Caucasian men and women.
Oh,
It's yeah, it's a horrible thing because basically our immune system is strong, and
yeah.
that's how it gets us.
From what I've read, I could be wrong here. From what I've read, it seems like it comes from the. I hope I don't butcher this. The antibodies produced to fight a respiratory illness.
It is, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, and that basically one of the antibodies then gets trapped within the kidney and attacks the kidney. So basically, my kidneys at the moment, I think 75% of both of my kidneys are scar tissue,
right.
and then within the rest of that, the rest of the 25%, it's inflamed, turning into scar tissue.
Okay.
So the filters in my kidney are just finished.
Yeah. Have you ever thought? I don't know. This might be. I've had these thoughts. Have you ever thought back to think, where have I had some sort of strange, overly powerful cold that could have brought this on?
Well, about that as well, when I was 7, even younger, I caught Legionnaires' disease.
Right.
So
Could be.
it all could be down to that. But we don't know. No one knows
No.
anything, do we? We don't have a clue. It could be, a caught simple common cold. That's what brought it on.
Yeah. It's all
But
it's
no, we don't
all
know.
speculation. I don't know how useful it is for any of us. I think back to when I was diagnosed with what I was told was asthma, and
Mm.
thinking, could that have been it? But I almost don't like thinking about it because you
No,
think, what could I have done to change it?
exactly. You don't want to. I mean, that's the thing. We are in the situation we are now. Obviously,
Yeah,
you're where you are. I'm where I am. Make the most of it. Let's do what we set out to do. It's not ideal, but let's do it.
I don't want to get too sort of philosophical and that sort of thing. But are you a believer of everything happens for a reason?
I am, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, very much so. Yeah, so I'm here. You know, there's a reason why this has happened. But the thing is, though, I was going to say, if I hadn't been diagnosed with kidney failure and my parents hadn't have been put forward for donation, we
yeah.
wouldn't have found out that my dad needed a quadruple bypass. So realistically, me, being sought out here saved my dad's life.
That was fascinating to read, and
Yeah.
we may as well come on to that now. Both our parents have been through that live donor workup.
Mm.
Yours, obviously, blessing in disguise.
Oh, 100%, yeah. It's like the consultant for my dad said he was a ticking time bomb. It was just any time. So, I'm so thankful for that as well.
Although you've obviously found that out about your dad, what was the sort of the balance between, oh my god, what's happening here, to I'm glad we found that out?
To be honest with you, I'd never really thought about it.
No.
I think I've always been quite a, I don't know how to put it, quite a numb person to my own emotions. So it's like right through this whole process, I've been not optimistic, but not pessimistic. I've just been, quite neutral. This is where I am. This is what's happening.
Yeah, I feel
Just
that.
deal with it. I think personally, I think that's the best way to deal with it.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. Also, maybe with what we've been through, it's the sort of thing you take it, you try and take it in your stride, don't you?
Oh, you do, yeah, yeah. We've got to spend most of it. We really do. I mean, it's like you wouldn't be where you are now if, stupid it sounds, if it hadn't happened to you.
Yeah,
It's
this wouldn't exist.
exactly. And obviously your situation now, you're helping so many people like myself.
Oh, thank you. On the live donor workup process, as we've gone through there, they say it is the most thorough health check you'll ever go through in your life, and
Yeah.
you may find out things that you didn't know about yourself. But before you get to that, there's the conversation about who may come forward to donate a kidney. I was sat in the room with my parents. Yours may have been a similar situation. What was that conversation like? Like in my case, it was very much, there wasn't really a conversation. It was straight away, we'll both get tested.
Yeah, it's exactly the same for my parents, both of them. It wasn't the same situation because obviously I think at the time I was diagnosed, COVID was like right on. So I was in hospital. My parents went for a consultancy with my doctor, and they just basically, right, where can we sign up? Where can we donate?
Yeah.
And that's how it all started. It was, it wasn't, I don't feel ungrateful. I'm not forcing them into anything, but I'm so grateful mum and dad offering that to me.
Definitely, yeah.
It is a case of parents do anything for the kids.
Yeah.
I know I would if I had kids. It would be, what can I do to help out? And
you're taking the words straight out of my mouth.
Thing. Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's all, I don't know what the right word to describe it. It's obviously very, very grateful that people would come forward. Is humbling the right word? I'm not sure what it is.
I think it's also, it's like you don't want to put your parents at risk either.
Yeah.
It's being grateful without, taking too much for granted from them and putting them at risk as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we've not really talked too much about going from diagnosis to dialysis, but how long was there in that time period?
So I started dialysis a couple of days before my birthday in September.
Happy
so
birthday.
I was actually in dialysis unit on my birthday, which it wasn't too bad. But at the time, this is when things were bad. My kidney function, I think, was at 4. I thought the story of that happening was I was having an iron infusion because obviously anemia comes part of the kidney failure.
Yeah.
And the nurse at the time, I was asking her, "Oh, what's my kidney function like? I haven't seen it in a while." And she went, "Oh, it's 5%." I was like, "What? It shouldn't be that low." It's like, "Yeah, sorry, it's 5%." So I rang my parents. My mum got straight onto the phone to my consultant, and they were like, "Well, why isn't he in hospital?" I'm like, he's fine. He's at home. He's doing well. Next day, hospital, emergency dialysis. Chest line, and I was off from then.
You're still on the chest line now?
Yeah, I am. They were trying to go towards PD dialysis, but the situation is I'm renovating a house at the same time, so having everything done at home on PD isn't
all the
best
pallets
idea at the moment. Yeah. Plus, like, my bedroom's only 1.5. It's like 1.5 bedrooms. I don't have anywhere to store the stuff.
Because I've only seen the photos. I may have mentioned it before on here. There's a lot of pallets of fluid, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like when the nurse came round, she went in the second bedroom. It's like, right, we're gonna have to fill up that wall with boxes of fluid. And I don't know how I'd be able to do it. I don't know how. But the thing is, though, it's like the freedom of my unit now. I think it's with Diaverum, and they do a minimal care unit, which I'm going to start training for. Which basically means I come and go to the unit as I please.
Oh, right.
Obviously, as long as I do, I don't go stupid. I've still got to have 3 days a week. But I can come at 11 in the evening or 7, 6, 5 in the morning if I need to, if I'm competing, which is ideal for me.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the line in your chest, I don't think this is something we've spoken about on the podcast before. I know you've got to be very careful around keeping it clean and not getting it infected.
Mm-hmm.
What is that process like? How often are you cleaning it? What sort of things you have to do to look after the line?
So obviously the company that I use supplies me shower pads. It's like a stoma bag that basically goes over the line for when you shower. I use that when I'm competing in the rain as well, in case my waterproofs leak, and put one of those on. But the rest of the time, it's just keeping yourself, personal hygiene's got to be very high.
Yeah.
Same as it should be anyway. But it's got to be especially high because you don't want to get an infection, because obviously that is a direct feed into the bloodstream. An infection there could be not good news.
No, not something you particularly want to think about.
No, not really, not at all. So I've been quite fortunate so far. Obviously, been down to September with the same line, and everything's been good so far.
Obviously, doing the right things.
Oh yeah, well, I did block once, but that's fine now.
Good stuff. Good to hear. And your mum is the one to donate, or will be donating a kidney to you. Again,
Yes, yeah.
We've had a lot of similarities in this up to this point. Have you got a rough time frame for that, and how are you both feeling about it?
I think my mum's excited. She just wants to, she wants me to be healthy again. She wants me to be back up to where I was. I want to not have to put a bag on to go for a shower. I want to do everything that I want to do. And so hopefully the consultant mentioned around Easter time. Fingers crossed, if everything goes to plan. But recently we have found my mum had a gallbladder removed.
Right.
So they found a cyst on her liver. So she's getting that checked up. I think it's tomorrow. So that'll be the 10th. So the 11th, she get checked up on the 11th, and then hopefully it's all go from there.
Good. So it's another, again, something else that you may not have found out other than for this process.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. It's like when she had a gallbladder removed, they have a full workup, obviously, the body scan, everything's scanned, and they only found this cyst because of the scans for getting workup for kidney donation.
It's you've fascinated a lot. It is fascinating how these things crop up and everything sort of ties in together, and just things work.
Yeah. I think it's something that comes from, I don't know about you, but personally, if I ever felt unwell or something felt wrong, I would never go to the doctors. It took, my girlfriend physically had to force me into Specsavers to get a checkup, but obviously I'm grateful she did.
I think this is another similarity. I've had one eye test in 23 years.
That was my first. Yeah, 26 years, and that was my first. 25 years, that was my first.
But again, there's always that thought. Again, I know we shouldn't do it, and I'm not afraid to say I've had psychology treatment, and you're told not to think about the what ifs, but there are a lot of those going around all the time.
Yeah, there is, very much so. I mean, my whole mentality of everything since being diagnosed with this now has completely changed. I was very shy and timid before all this, whereas now it's like I'm just full of confidence. I will say to someone exactly how it is, and I don't care what they think. I'm just going to be me. I think that's where I've changed. It's like, even 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I would never start up a YouTube channel. Never would have done it. Whereas now, I put 2 videos up, and I loved it.
They're good videos as well.
Well, thank you. It was a first attempt, so I'll take it. I'll definitely take it.
I like the voiceovers you did. It's good stuff.
Yeah, try to be different. I don't want to do things the same as everyone else.
Do you look at someone like Rick Shields as inspiration?
Not really, no. I prefer the way I want to do it. I want to do tournament vlogs. I want to do life as me, basically.
Yeah.
Life as trying to get to the highest level, trying to get as far as I possibly can. And that's what I want to do, because I know there is so many people out there aspiring to be professional athletes, and especially when I was doing it, there wasn't anyone sort of really sort of giving the pace on how to do it.
Yeah.
It was, I've got to here. This is how I got here. But it was never the process of step-by-step guides and also making the mistakes, trying to do it.
While we're on the topic of social media and YouTube, I saw a video on your Instagram, a few of you hitting balls at the driving range. Yeah. And I looked at that as a non-golfer. Well, I say non-golfer. I've tried to play. I did a 3-club challenge once, and that went horribly. I could hit the ball, but I don't know where it's going. And I was sat next to my dad, and what do you hit the ball? I just went, wow. They just went like a laser.
Well, I think it took me, I think it was 6 attempts to do that. So obviously I went for low tee, high tee. Was it that one?
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, so at low tee, high tee, trying to get the ball flight exactly the same off a low tee and a high tee to sort of say, look, you don't really need,
Yeah, that was the one.
There's no need for it. You can do what you want to do, and everything will still be the same. But it's taken me, I'm 26 or 24 years of playing golf, probably 360 days a year to get to that.
Yeah,
it's Yeah, it's been a long process.
I also saw on your Instagram that it says you're trying to get to Q School, which is
Yeah,
that's
so
for the DP World Tour.
yes, yeah, that's what I want to get to. Ideally, that's probably going to be not this year after. Obviously, finances again play a big part in that because it's so expensive to do it.
How do you go about getting to that point?
So it's just a case of pay your money. If you get in, great. If you don't, better luck next year. But it's so I think it's the first round will be in the UK somewhere. Second round generally in Spain. Third round I think was in Spain again year before. But I think it's 3 days, 6 days. If I'm correct, I'm not 100% sure. But it's a long process.
Is that like a qualifying for that tour? Basically,
It is, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know a few of my friends like Jonathan Thompson, Andrew Wilson. They've all gone on to now be big professional golfers. Jonathan Thompson, I think he finished third in Q School last year to get his card. Fantastic lad. I couldn't. He's been through a lot as well when it came to his health when he was younger, and he's a fantastic guy and a brilliant golfer.
And moving on to golf while you're on dialysis, we've had some listener questions in. Now, if anybody wants to ask some questions for whichever guest it may be in the future, like a few people have done for Will today, then if you go and follow Transplant's Take on Sport on social media, Instagram and Facebook are at Transplant's Take on Sport Pod, and Twitter is at TTOS Pod. Or if you want to, you can email transplantstakeonsport@gmail.com, and you can send your questions in via the comments. You can DM them. You can put them in the question box on Instagram. And if you do so, there's a chance to feature on the podcast. Now, before we come on to one that's slightly more specific to golf, one that was quite popular on Instagram was, how does dialysis affect your life? And we'll go generally rather than golf specific for now.
I think more generally, it's more the time it takes up, because obviously, and also the strain it has. For me personally, it's like dialysis is very tiring, very fatiguing. So, and I also think that plays a big part into how much fluid you take off when you're dialysing. So I found, obviously, if I don't take off any fluid, I'm more energized that afternoon. I'll only take a 2-hour nap compared to sleeping all afternoon after it.
Right.
So it's like, this coming Monday, I think we took off 1.2 litres of fluid. And I got home, my head was pounding. I basically slept until 6 o'clock, and my girlfriend woke me up and said, "Look, we need to go and have something to eat. We need to, do something. Otherwise, I'd just sleep right through until the next morning." But then, the strain it has on your heart and the brain.
Yeah.
It's like if we were doing this podcast that Monday, I'd mumble my words. It'd be, I wouldn't be able to speak. It'd be horrible. But it's like this Wednesday, I had no fluid on me. So last night was the first time I went to golf after dialysis. It was an absolute train wreck, but I did it, and I'm proud for doing it.
Before we come on to the other listener question, I'm just going to ask you about the golf you played yesterday. I saved it. Didn't ask you yesterday when we were messaging. What was the difference between playing after dialysis but then playing on a day where you've not had any?
So I think the main difference was I couldn't get concentrated. It's as stupid as it sounds. It's like normally concentration's been an issue since my diagnosis with kidney failure, right through my memory and my speech skills, my vocabulary is sort of taking a hit.
I had it when I was going through the proper kidney failure. Concentration was a nightmare.
That's the worst part of it. It really is. So it's like I was stood on the first tee, and I hit a great shot. Absolutely loved it. Got to second one. It was just horrendous. I think so. It was a par 4. I think it's 430 yards. I had a 9-iron into the green. Now normally, within my 7-iron, I'm quite accurate. I must have missed the green 40 yards right. It was probably the worst 9-iron I've ever hit, and it wasn't a shank. So it was just straight right. And that's sort of like, normally I'd be able to pick myself up and go again from there. I couldn't get going again. I couldn't focus on what I wanted to do.
Along with that, the concentration is horrible. I had to have extra time in exams at uni for that exact reason. Darren asked how you finding the stamina for golf, but also, are you mentally tired near the end of the round?
Yeah, I think the physical tiredness is something that I've experienced the most. Mentally tired, that's always going to happen with professional sport, because you are, especially with golf, you've got your 7 seconds where you've got your peak concentration per shot before your mind starts to wander again. So those 7 seconds, I'm focused purely on what my goal is, what my shot outcome is. and I'm doing that obviously 70, 65 times around. But the physical tiredness, that's affects me more. I'll get to hole 13. I've got to sit down. I've got to sit down and have a rest. I need to recover. And then for those last 6 holes, I'm struggling. And that's where I've found in my last tournaments that I've played in. I've been 1, 2, 3 under par to holes 12, 13.
Yeah.
I'll finish level par 1, 2 over just because of my concentration's gone and my stamina's gone. It's almost like I'm trying to swing, my body won't let me.
Yeah.
Then it just goes all over the place. So the last tournament I played in, I managed to get something going again. I managed to, sort of carry on by not almost like the whole round. I was swinging 70%.
Yeah.
And I finally, got a decent score and a decent finish.
Has that been the best way you found to adapt to the effects of kidney disease and kidney failure?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's been a process. It's I think we're finally starting to adapt to some sort of routine that's working for me. Obviously, the gym is playing its part. I mean, it's like used to when I was in college. Obviously, I did. I think it's level 3 BTEC in sports. We used to push ourselves in the gym all the time.
Yeah.
And the rowing machine, I could go all day. I used to do half an hour, and that was sort of like getting warmed up. I was on the rowing machine for 2 minutes, the other day, and I was finished. I couldn't even walk out to the car. I was out of breath until I got home and even got into bed. I was just, I was gone.
I mean, also, you've said you can play with 70% swing, but is there a difference in the way you've had to adapt in terms of how you fuel your body food-wise?
Yeah, because obviously we can't eat the same stuff. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm on a low potassium, low phosphate diet, which is, so all the good stuff I normally eat, my fruit, veg, nuts, I can't eat anymore. It's I'm very limited. So it's it's a lot of pasta with pesto and plain pasta, a lot of pasta and rice.
Does that work to the same extent as what you normally would eat?
It can do, yeah. Sorry, my cat's coming to say hello. But no, yeah, it does. I haven't found diet to be a massive issue. Obviously, if a potassium goes high, I feel it. If a phosphate goes high, I feel it in my body. It's like, I think the last tournament I played in, I didn't quite eat right going into it. So we got to hole 11 and 12. My hands and feet were tingly. My legs were numb. And that was hard. It's like, that's the daily life as well. Obviously, if you eat wrong,
Yeah.
your body then says, what are you doing? You can't be doing this.
When you see a lot of tennis players during games, they're eating bananas. Or I remember a journalist asking Andy Murray, how many bananas do you go through in a game? And he went, 1. Is this something that you relied on beforehand?
Yeah, I used to go through 2 or 3 around quite easily. Bananas, apples. First one was Jaffa cakes. I love Jaffa cakes through a round. There's always, fruit and nut mix, salted peanuts as well. Even though, it wasn't great, maybe thirsty, but still, I love the salted peanuts when I'm playing golf.
Have you been able to play as often as you normally would when you've been on dialysis?
So I'm now down to playing. Obviously, I have yesterday was the first time I played on a Wednesday on a dialysis day. So I'm stuck to Tuesday, Thursday, and I do what I can Saturday, Sunday. I really try and go for it Saturday, Sunday. But even then, that's only play in the morning, probably a couple of hours short game in the afternoon. I don't have at the moment the patience to stand there on the range and hit balls like I used to be able to do.
Yeah.
I used to be able to stand on the range 4 or 5 hours, my headphones in. That was fine. I can't do that now. I think that's mostly down to the restless legs as well. Really plays its part.
How are you dealing with that mentally in terms of not being able to do what you could do before?
Think more, not thinking about it too much. Trying to block it out and just say, look, this is what my body will let me do. Just try and make the most of it for now. So it's like I'm hoping my next tournament is the 10th of March. So I've just ordered a new set of irons, new drivers on the way as well. When I say new, they're both second hand. Obviously, the new stuff I don't get along with. I've gone with what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
So I've gone second hand off eBay. I'll build them to what I want them to be. So hopefully, when the tournament comes around, my clubs are in place. I'm spending my time in the gym. My fitness is getting better. My health is getting better. I'm feeling like I'm getting into a routine of how I can play, how I can get to some sort of fair standard to where I was. So fingers crossed, it's going to be a good one.
I hope so for you. That's about a month away now.
It is, yeah. I've got a month to get ready, so yeah. Not too long in golfing terms. It should be, a few months to prepare.
Fingers crossed for you. And
Yeah, thank you.
mental health's a big topic at the moment and has been for a while now. How important has it been for you mentally to keep getting out on the golf course and out in the open air, fresh air? I know with cricket for me it was massive when I was in a position that you're in now. Oh, not on dialysis, but in the same that time where your kidney function's low.
Mm.
Being outside for a long period of time was so important.
It was, yeah, very much for me as well. It's like I think when I first came out of hospital, the first time before I started dialysis, me and my girlfriend just went up to Coniston and we just went for a walk, did as much as we could. It was pouring it down. The dog loved it. We both got soaked. Went to a pub afterwards, had something to eat, but that was just nice to be out and about.
Yeah.
Then when I started dialysis, obviously I had to wait 8 weeks to recover for the line to heal, for it to fuse into the artery. All those 8 weeks, I spent probably the first 2 at home. I didn't feel like doing much, but then my dad and brothers were out playing golf. I started to go walk a few holes. Maybe after 4 weeks, I started to hit a few chips, a few putts. Started to get the feeling for it again, and that sort of like gave me the encouragement to say, right, everything's okay. You can still do what you want to do. Everything's going to be fine. And that was sort of like a big turning point for me regarding my mental health.
It's a good attitude to have that.
I think it's I've always struggled with mental health. It's been a big topic for me. And I think it is something we don't talk about too much. As men, we don't like to talk about it, but it's something we really need to.
Definitely, fully, yeah. Completely
100%.
agree.
We need to share. We need to tell people we're not okay.
Definitely, and for me, there was a turning point mentally was when there's a charity called Opening Up Cricket came in to do a talk with the university cricket team, and that was a case of, oh right, yeah, open up. There's things you can do through your sport that can really help.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with me was sort of opening up on Instagram.
Yeah,
It was,
saw that.
Actually posting and going. It's like actually doing it. That's where, as much as I think for me it was more of a case of, right, people have seen me promise this thing now. Now I have to deliver. I think that was the way my mind more works than anything else.
Other than this tournament coming up in March, have you been able to take part in any tournaments while on dialysis?
Yes, I have. I've played in 3. They've all been down in winter series events down in Nottingham. 2 have been all right, but 1 I played really well. I actually shot 4 under par, 67 in brutal conditions, and only missed out by winning from 2 shots. So it's that's the sort of where my game should be. It's where it always has been, but it's where it should be.
And fingers crossed the transplant that you mentioned does go ahead around Easter time this year. What are your plans going forward for the rest of the year, should that happen, and then onwards after you've had your transplant?
So basically, the way I'm thinking at the moment is, if I do everything I can now, so if I push myself as hard as I can, get everything in place for my transplant, when I come back from that, I think it's 8-week recovery, isn't it? 8-week recovery period.
I think it'll vary depending on where you are. I got told,
Yeah.
I got told 6 months before any sport, but it'll depend on what your consultant says.
So when I was on the phone to the day, it was like, right, okay, you can start going again after 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Start, taking it easy after 8 weeks. As long as it doesn't hurt, you'll be able to play golf. So as I said before, my thinking is, if I go full out now, obviously I'm spending 4 days a week in the gym. I'm practicing when I can, spend all my hours I can at the golf course, get my game in the best shape it can be. When I take those 8 weeks off, could be more, I don't have to do as much coming back to the side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's my thinking anyway. Whether it works or not, it's a different story, but that's my thinking.
I hope it does work for you. I think it is a good plan. And I think listening to this, a lot of people will agree with what you're saying and really take something from your attitude and the way you've dealt with dialysis while being a professional athlete. And just think doing everything you can now to get ready for hopefully that transplant date when that comes, and just doing what you can. It's inspirational to hear.
I mean, the thing is, I don't want people to look at me as like the guy that's playing golf with dialysis. I'm just another golf professional trying to make a career out of what I love to do. I'm not after pity or anything like that. I just want to be, this is what I want to do. Let's go and do it. And I think a lot of people see kidney failure as the end. It really isn't. Obviously your life has now changed for the rest of your life. Obviously you're on medication, for the anti-rejection. Everything else has changed, but we can still do everything that we want to do.
Yeah,
there's nothing holding us back, really. There really isn't.
No, you're showing now that there's nothing stopping you doing following your
No.
dream, despite having kidney failure, kidney disease.
No, there isn't. Well, it's same for everyone. Obviously, there is limitations regarding everybody, but this is what we've got to work with. Let's go and do it.
Exciting times ahead for you as well.
Well, hopefully, fingers crossed.
Definitely hope so. And we'll have to get you back on once you've had your transplant and you got back into competing again. You're into your flow, into your rhythm. Get you back, see how it's going, and I'm sure people will love to hear where you are.
I'd love to come back on. I really would. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, it's great stuff. Great stuff. And definitely get you back on as long as you're up for it in the future.
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%. I really am.
Will, it's been a pleasure to chat to you. And before we go, the Transplant Take on Sport quiz is back.
This is going to be horrendous. I've always been horrendous at quizzes. It's really bad. It's even worse now. My memory's shocking.
I'll take that into account. You're the second person on Series 2. Fourth person to take on the quiz. We had a 4, a 3, and a 2, as far as I'm aware, out of 4.
Okay. So I can come fourth. That's all right.
Yeah. And just to recap how this works for people who may not have heard before, each week I'll ask the guest 4 questions based on a sport of their choosing. Yours is golf, if people hadn't guessed already. One of the questions is which is higher. There's 1 true or false, 1 what happens next, and 1 who am I. The aim is to score as many points as possible, and I'll be keeping score as the podcasts go by. I don't know if you've heard any of these quizzes before, but some of them, the first 1, 2 especially, complete guesswork and some pretty stupid questions. So if you're ready, we'll get on with question 1.
Let's go for it.
So question 1 is which is higher? Is it the highest score on a single hole in PGA Tour history, or the world record for the number of Big Macs eaten in one sitting?
Oh God, that could be a... I think it's got to be Big Macs. I mean, there's been some high scores, but it's got to be Big Macs.
Correct, it is the Big Macs. The highest score on a single hole in PGA Tour history was 23, scored by Tommy Armour at the Shawnee Open in 1927.
Wow.
I'm not sure what the par was, but he took 23 shots. He was well over.
Well, I think if I scored more than 10, I'd walk off. It wouldn't be...
It takes some guts to keep going when he got past 10.
It's definitely commitment. I mean, give him that. That's definitely commitment.
I'd love to know what was going on that hole.
I mean, I want to know how many Big Macs he ate now.
It was competitive eating champion Joey Chestnut. Some people may have heard of him. He managed to eat 32 Big Macs in 38 minutes.
Wow.
And that's over 18,000 calories.
I do enjoy a Big Mac, but I couldn't eat that many.
It's ridiculous.
Well, I couldn't picture that.
It made me feel sick thinking about it.
I mean, it sort of me want to try it now, see how many I can eat. But, I mean, the dietitian wouldn't be too happy with me, but, sort of me want to try it now.
1 out of 1 so far. Question 2, true or false? This is a statement. Golf balls were originally made of elastic bands wrapped around a stone.
I want to say false.
Correct again, 2 out of 2.
I think they were made of leather originally. With the leather
you're right, yeah.
Leather and feather.
Leather wrapped in feathers, which apparently they weren't very reliable and they were quite time consuming to make because they have to wet the feathers, then put it on the leather and let them dry.
Really? So the only reason I know that is because we're having this conversation yesterday. We're actually out looking for golf balls, our brothers, and we're saying, what's the most valuable golf ball? And they're saying it's a leathery. And they're saying it's the first golf ball ever made. It was a leather golf ball wrapped in feathers. And that's the only reason I knew that.
Oh, what a coincidence.
I was preparing for the quiz secretly.
Researching for this is where I found the Tiger Woods stat at the start about his first hole-in-one being, I think it was 8 years old.
Yeah. I never knew that. I mean, I had one when I was 7, but that was, sorry about that, it was actually completely foggy. A local golf club, it was 100 something yards hole. Couldn't see a thing. I just hit it. And we were spending 5 minutes looking for the golf ball. I said to my dad, have we checked the hole? He was like, no, I haven't. And it was in the hole. And at the time, it was a hippo. I mean, a hippo golf ball is probably one of the worst golf balls you can ever get, but I've still got it now. And that was my first hole-in-one.
Nice. Good story. Kept the ball all that time.
Complete fluke. Complete fluke. But it was,
you've beaten Tiger Woods anyway.
Hole-in-one. Something I'll beat him, hopefully. The one thing.
You never know. Question 3 is what happens next. You're on a perfect score so far. What happens next, providing that I can get access to the footage without being taken down for copyright, These will all be on the social media pages once this podcast has been released. I'm going to see about the Phil Babb one from the last episode. That may be up, that may not be up. Sky owned that. I believe they do. Question 3, what happens next? And this is multiple choice. On day 2 of the 2007 President's Cup, Woody Austin hit his tee shot into the water next to the green on the par 4 14th hole. In an attempt to win the hole, he took his shoes and socks off, rolled his trousers up to try and hit the ball that was floating on the water next to the grass onto the green. But what happened next? So the ball's floating on the water. 3 options. A, he hits the ball out of the water and directly into the hole. B, he hits a rock rather than the ball, loses his balance, stumbling backwards and falling face first into the water. Or C, during his follow-through after hitting the ball, he accidentally lets go of his club, throwing it backwards over his head and further into the water than he was already stood.
This could be a complete guess. I have absolutely no idea. But I've got a feeling, I've seen a video on somewhere of a guy hitting a shot in the water and face planting in a PGA event or something like that. So I've got a feeling it's that one.
You would be correct again. 3 out of 3. It's quite a funny clip. He goes down so slowly.
I think I know which one you mean. Yeah, it's sort of like it's slow motion, falling face first into the water.
Yeah. You were correct. He lost the hole, surprisingly. Unsurprisingly, more like. He lost that hole, but he battled back with 3 birdies to half the match.
That's good going. I mean, it's been soaking.
I think the interview was... Oh, yeah, he was absolutely drenched, drying himself off after that hole. But in the interview, I think he said, I'd rather try and win it than just give up. So the ball was floating on the water.
Yeah. I mean, the worst feeling in golf is when you actually give a hole away when you play match play. Rather than trying to, you make silly mistakes. If you go for it and lose it, fair enough. But if you give it away from a silly mistake, that's the worst feeling.
So would he have been trying to do that just to save an extra shot?
So it'll be in a situation, obviously. I think he must have been down in the match to go for it. So he's sort of like all or nothing. If I win this hole, great. If I don't, there's chances still.
Okay. It looked funny the way he just walks over. You can see it floating on the water, and you think, he's not going to do that. And
if you haven't watched it, please go and watch it.
And he takes his shoes and socks off.
Yeah.
Perfect score so far. Going into question 4, which is who am I?
You jinxed it now.
How this works is I'll give you 4 clues. And after those 4 clues, you can have 1 guess. If it's wrong, I'll give you an extra one. You can have another guess, and there'll be 3 extra guesses. So you've got 4 goes in total to get it.
Okay. If I don't get it right, then I'll quit.
So this person was born in November 1987. They are a former world number 1 who first reached the rank in September 2015. They've won 1 major championship, and they are one of only 3 multiple winners of the WGC match play.
I have no idea.
Any guesses?
I'm trying to think of someone who's around that age.
So so what would he be? Quick maths.
29. He's 29?
87. So it'd be 97, 10, 2007, 20. He's 35 this year.
Maths is terrible.
35
I was really
this
good
year.
at maths, but it's not anymore, apparently.
And I did well at school. But he's 35 this year.
Okay. Who's the one that won major?
One of only 3 multiple winners of the WGC match play.
Not Jason Day?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Was it Jason Day?
Yeah.
Really?
got it on the first one.
Oh, the only thing that threw me was obviously 2015. I thought, right, it's about when Jason Day came in and the one major. He's only won 1 major. And I know he's won 1 match play. I didn't know he'd won 3.
Oh, he said he's one of only 3 multiple winners.
Okay, yeah.
So he won 2.
Winners, yeah.
Tiger Woods had 3, I believe, from a research, and I can't remember the other one.
Yeah, because he was the only one that sort of came to mind when he's won a match play and he's won a major. The only 1 major. I can't believe I got that right.
Other clues would have been won the 2015 PGA Championship, finished second in the US Open twice, and the final clue, Australian.
Yeah, I would have got it then. When you mentioned Australian, I would have got it.
4 out of 4. Very good score.
I'm expecting to get 0, to be honest with you.
Puts you at the top.
I'll take that. I'll definitely take that.
Whoever's on next got big shoes to fill.
I've set standard, haven't I? It's that competitive edge of being, trying to compete for a living. You got always compete all the time.
The
It's
pros.
like, well, even when I was in school, I had to be the first finish in writing. If I didn't, I would sulk every single time.
It's fitting that the professional athlete is at the top of the leaderboard.
We'll see for how much longer.
You can't go any higher.
So I have one more question next time. I have one more question.
Will, it's been a pleasure to chat to you today and learn more about golf and also your golfing career and your attitude on it. Your attitude on kidney failure and playing golf again is great. I think people will take a lot from it. One more question before we go, and it's the one I ask everyone at the end of the podcast. It's actually a position that you're in, aimed at people who are in your position at the moment. Mm-hmm. What's one piece of advice you'd give to someone facing a transplant?
We've been put in a situation for a reason. It's something we've got to deal with now. So, there's no point looking back at what could be, where we could be. Just give it a go. Do everything you can do. Nothing's going to change. We are where we are.
Well said. And there we go. That was my guest today, Will Marklew, who hopefully you'll hear more from into the future after he's hopefully had a transplant later this year and is back playing golf after that again. If you'd like to get in touch to either just send a message or if you'd like to come on the podcast or if there's somebody you think I should be contacting to bring on as a guest, you can do so by emailing transplantstakeonsport@gmail.com, or you can go to any of the social media pages that are linked in the show notes, Instagram and Facebook @TransplantTakeOnSportPod, Twitter @TTOSPod. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, that is the most used app to listen to the podcast on, and it means a massive amount to me if you go and rate the podcast 5 stars on there, as it really does help spread the podcast to more people and help them discover it on the search page, more than you'd think, actually. If you don't think it's 5 stars, fair enough. Perfectly entitled to that opinion. I'd rather you told me and I could make any changes that way rather than going and rating it 1 star on Apple Podcasts. Spotify have also added that feature now. So again, if you would be kind enough and if you'd like to go and rate it 5 stars on there, then please go and do so, as it really does help out and help the podcast grow. Any 5-star reviews along with the rating on Apple Podcasts will be read out in this section of the podcast. Thank you once again to our guest today, Will Marklew. I've been Lewis Daniels, and you've been listening to Transplant's Take on Sport.